from what I saw. I don't know if ICAN will change it. Exactly. So if you open the document I shared on the platform for November, you see a statement made there. You see examination. Where is it? Let me zoom it a bit. You will see something about introduction of e-exams. So you will see they said starting from November 2005 diet, ICAN will commence e-examination at the foundation level, like I guessed as much.
Yeah.
So candidate at foundation level can choose between e-exam at designated Lagos and Abuja centers or continue. So you even have an option to continue with the current paper-based mode of exams across all centers. So further details will be provided on the ICAN website and official channels. So skills and professional, I think they are exempted for now.
Okay.
Yes, from computer-based for now. So let's see. I know with time, of course, most examinations or most professional examinations did not start all stages like that. They took it stage by stage,
step by
and it was a pilot. Yes, it was a pilot transition. It was not just abrupt. So it's good. Let's qualify before others will come and start computer-based. I think it will be better. Yeah. Okay. So that's a bit of good news. So let's get to the subject of the day. So we started in the last class a review of the past questions, and we took about 3 or 4 questions or so on Monday, and we were able to review chapter 2, which the questions spoke to directly. So we've been looking at the regulatory environment and the questions that are associated with them. So I hope we conclude on this so we can start chapter 3. We don't have much time. We've exhausted July now. By tomorrow, we've entered August. So I hope we finish these past questions so that we can move to chapter 3. We still have 16 chapters. We have new updates like the ISQM1, ISQM2, sustainability, assurance, reporting, and all that. So we need to finish and take our time or be fast and not take much time. So, but as usual, we need to also engage. If you have any thought, you have any comment, any question, go ahead and interject. I'll try to be fast, but then I have a lot of breaks anyway in the class. So feel free to halt and stop me for any clarifications or observations as usual. All right. We'll be continuing with question 7, May 2018. And the question tested money laundering, which is an area in the second chapter that we looked at significantly, money laundering or money laundering. So we're looking at May 2018, question 7, tested money laundering. And it reads, management of Banana Follow Me Limited is planning to invest in all its factories in order to attract more customers. The company has sufficient cash to fund all its necessary capital expenditure. Most of the cash will be used to invest in equipment and fittings, while the remaining cash will be used for the refurbishment of the factories. The audit strategy relevant to the audit of the company reveals the existence of significant risk associated with money laundering, largely due to the high volume of cash-based transactions. The majority of customers purchase cocoa in cash, and the company transfers its cash to overseas bank account on a regular basis. So we're required to, number 1, discuss 3 requirements of any anti-money laundering program which the auditor of Banana Follow Me Limited should have in place for detecting and reporting suspicion of money laundering. 6 marks. Number 2, state 1 example of the criminal offenses connected with money laundering. 1 mark. Total 15 marks. That's not possible. How can it be 15 marks? 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, that's the B part. I think the A part did not test money laundering. So this is 7-mark question. Don't mind that total 15. It's supposed to be 7. So I guess the A part was not a money laundering or chapter 2 related question. So ignore that 15 marks. It's 7 marks. All right. So we have a question before us on money laundering, and the scenario is about Banana Follow Me Limited, and this is planning factory investments funded by sufficient cash. You see that the audit strategy reveals a significant money laundering risk due to high volume of cash-based transactions, that is cocoa purchases, and regular transfers of cash to overseas bank accounts. Okay, so if you observe the question, this is a typical case scenario. The examiner likes the case scenario kinds of question, and it's application based, requiring candidates to identify components of an audit firm anti-money laundering program and also discuss their relevance, especially in the context of cash intensive and international nature of Banana Follow Me Limited business. So from the solution, it clearly identifies the core elements of an anti-money laundering program. And in writing, if I were to write this or pick this, write this question or take this question in writing, I'll focus on essential elements of an anti-money laundering program that we discussed extensively during the lectures with an audit firm. So I'll focus on the essential elements. These typically include a designated reporting officer. Don't forget an MLRO. So typically it includes a designated reporting officer, robust training of the same officer, customer due diligence in form of know your customer, know your client, which is the usual KYC we do, and proper record keeping. So we need to explain briefly why each element is necessary for detecting and reporting. So how do you write? You use bullet points, like we say, usually, and the examiner always do that. He uses bullet points to buttress his thoughts or his answers. And if you don't want to use bullet points, then make your paragraphs very, very distinct. After a point, you move to another paragraph. Don't write fully on just one lumped up statement. It will be hard picking out the points. That's why it's recommended to number your points or bullet points with bullet points. And in writing, for each of the 3 requirements you choose to discuss, clearly state the requirement. So for example, appointment of a money laundering reporting officer. Remember we spoke about MLRO during the lectures, and then discuss its purpose and key activities involved in a paragraph or a few bullet points, linking it back to the overall goal of detecting and reporting. So while the scenario highlights cash transactions and overseas transfers, the question asks about the auditor's anti-money laundering program. So the linkage actually is general rather than specific to Banana Follow Me Limited's transaction. So take note of that on how to write. If you look at the marking key, let's go to the marking key because we have to be very mark conscious. If you go to the marking key, you will see that you could gain some key insights. The marking key gives 2 marks for each of the 3 points indicated. And it indicates that a solid explanation of each requirement is expected, not just a brief mention. So be guided by, like the MLRO, emphasize the appointment of a senior MLRO, their role in receiving internal reports, considering external reporting, and also managing documentation. Excuse me. Excuse me. This is a cornerstone, very important. So emphasize the appointment of a senior MLRO, their role in receiving reports, and also for external reporting. And also really their role is to also manage documentation. This is key. Also, the training program, highlight the need for comprehensive training of all staff on legislation, regulations, firm policies like identification, record keeping, reporting, and other risk factors, and the tipping off offense that we talked about in the lectures. This ensures awareness. Generally, the training program ensures awareness. And another point is the customer due diligence, CDD we spoke about, and the KYC, know your customer, know your client. You need to explain the importance after stating that. Yes, please, Julie, go ahead, Jay.
Yes, please, can you throw more light on that tipping off offenses? Appropriate response and tipping off offenses.
Okay, fantastic. So the tipping off offenses speaks to partners or audit firm or firm owners that maybe they get huge amounts from a client and they are aware the client is a money launderer. So when maybe regulators or agencies come after them like EFCC stating, okay, we have this client under our radar, we are suspecting this. So the tipping off means firms could say, okay, you are under radar, can you escape or something? So you are giving a hint. That means the firm is aware. So it's an offense. And when a firm is indicted or found culpable, there's a liability to it. So tipping off generally speaks to giving your client a tip to either escape, withdraw his money, or just get off the regulator's radar to avoid investigation and prosecution. That's essentially what tipping off means. Is that clear?
Okay, yeah. So these are the things they should guard against.
Yes, exactly. Yes, they should guard against it. They should be aware and also mitigate such risk. Okay. Thank you for that question. Yeah, thank you. So I was speaking to customer due diligence, and if you look at the reporting, the customer due diligence, in speaking to that, you need to explain to pick your maximum points, the importance of identifying clients, their certificates, their passports, for example, understand their business activities, the source of their income, and rationale behind their transactions. This is crucial for audit firms. And from initial risk assessment and ongoing monitoring is very important for audit firms. Then the area of record keeping, you need to explain, if you're writing this area or this point, explain why maintaining records for client identification and transactions is vital to avoid inadvertent involvement in money laundering. That I don't know is not an excuse. So record keeping is very important. And I think reporting policy, like you see in the marking guide, reporting policy, while related to the MLRO, can be a separate point, emphasizing the firm's clear internal reporting procedures for suspicions. And also, finally, you see that the solution provides a good depth of each of these solutions. So choose any of the three you can explain comprehensively to pick the 2 marks each. Very important. Okay, so that's for the B1 part. Then for the B2 part, I spoke to state one example, very insignificant mark, but then you can pick the 1 mark freely to get your 7 marks. State one example of the criminal offenses connected with money laundering, and it's saying state one example. So in answering this 1 mark question, very small, is a direct recall question asking for specific examples of money laundering offenses. So the solution provides 2 common and relevant examples. So you see just 2 common ones, and in writing this, I think just provide a concise example of a criminal offense directly related to money laundering. So common examples include like failing to report suspicion, like this tipping off we spoke about is also an offense, or being involved in arranging and facilitating money laundering, So just write a single clear sentence stating one specific offense is sufficient for 1 mark. Very simple. And if you look at the marking key for that question, 1 mark. Okay, so it's just 1 mark for that point. The solution is perfect, actually. Failure by a person in the regulated sector to inform the appropriate party of a knowledge or suspicion that another person is engaged in money laundering. So failure to report, it's an offense. It's a simple thing. Then any one of these, either failure to report or failure to make disclosure, which is likely to prejudice investigation into money laundering, tipping off, or obstruction of investigation is also an offense. So any of these or any other money laundering offenses like concealment, acquisition, use, we stated most of this in the lectures, possession of criminal property, etc., will suffice. So be precise with your terminology, and generally it's good to understand the scope. So for general strategies on answering such questions, understand the scope of the question. Like the B1 part, the question asks about the auditor's anti-money laundering program, not the client, the auditor. So ensure your answer is framed from the perspective of the audit firm, not from the clients. Take note. Then precision in your terminology.
Sorry,
use
sir.
terms like, yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, interject. I'm
I'm
listening.
making reference to the B1 aspect.
Yes, please.
Can we say, since he said auditors anti-money laundering program, we shouldn't make reference to the case study? Because
No,
I felt it's a case base.
No, you don't. You make reference to the case study. If you look at the solution, you make reference to it, but not in detail. The case study is not that elaborate. So in speaking to the case, you make a bit of reference to it. So read through the solution, and you'll see that there were no references directly, but then it was speaking to the case. But graphic or pinpointing that banana, blah, blah, blah in your solution was not referenced. So your statement should show that it's the audit firm that is directly asked on the anti-money laundering program. So you may not mention Banana Follow Me Limited directly, but then the audit firm and what it does should relate to what the case is speaking to. So that
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So that use of correct terms, or that ensure you are framing it in perspective of the audit firm, is what we are saying. So the audit firm should discuss what Banana Follow Me Limited is not doing or you would do to address the challenges of anti-money laundering. So use of words or correct terms like money laundering reporting officer, which is the MLRO, customer due diligence, CDD, know your customer or know your client, KYC, and suspicious transaction report. So precision in terminology, using those correct terms, is very important. Then don't forget, he said discuss, which is a command. So for part 1 or the B1 says discuss, which means providing more than a mere list. These words are very key in understanding how to answer such question. Discuss means providing more than a mere list. So it requires elaboration on why each requirement is important, and also how it contributes to the overall objective. And in speaking to UK's question, the direct recall versus application, part 1 is a mix, as in you see that it's leaning towards applied knowledge of a standard firm procedure. So the direct recall and the application is a mix. It's not just directly a scenario answer. Then part B is a pure recall. So just be prepared for both the direct recall and the application to the case. Then also for the B2, you see that there's brevity. The marks are very small. Brevity, the marks is too short. So be brief. Brevity is required. So for a 1 mark question, don't write an essay. Just go straight to the point. Very simple. And you pick your 1 mark, and I think 7 marks should be assured for such a question. All right. I think that will be all for question solution 7. If we have any questions, please feel free to interject. I appreciate the engagement. Just interject quickly, like UK does. So that a thought strikes you or something you need to clarify, please go ahead and satisfy in case you're taking notes. Very important. All right. So if we don't have any question, let's run. We want to see if you can finish up this so that we can move to chapter 3 in the next class. Time is running out. So we're going to November 2020. And again, money laundering ISA 250 was examined. Question 1, A, B, C, D, E, November 2020. Money laundering again and ISA 250 was tested. All right, so let's go. The scenario reads, you're a manager in Obuns & Co., a firm of chartered accountants responsible for the audit of Akudre PLC, a listed entity for the year ended 31st May 2020. The company operates in the textile industry. It manufactures a range of goods, including clothing, linen, and soft furnishing. The company employs a team of approximately 750 sales staff around the country who sells the company's products to both householding and small to medium-sized businesses. Your firm was appointed as auditor in January 2020. Around 75% of Akudre PLC's sales transactions are cash-based. Let me take that again. Around 75% of Akudre PLC's sales transactions are cash-based, and each of the company's sales staff prepares a cash sales report on a monthly basis. According to Akudre PLC's CEO, Aduoke, and in order to foster an entrepreneurial spirit among his staff, each staff, including the senior management team, is encouraged to make cash sales on a commission basis to friends and family. Mr. Oke leads the way with this scheme and recently sold products with a value of 4 million naira to his business associates. He transferred these funds directly into an offshore account. Into an offshore bank account in the company's name, to which he's the sole signatory. Wow. Review of audit working papers. Your review of the audit working papers and an initial meeting with Mr. Oke identified the following potential issues. The audit engagement letter and the working papers of the taxation section of the audit file we established that Obuns & Co. performed the taxation computation of Akudre PLC and completed the tax returns for both the company and Mr. Oke. All of the taxation services have been invoiced to Akudre PLC as part of the total fee for the audit and professional services. Mr. Oke's personal tax return includes a significant number of transactions involving the purchase and sales of property in various international locations. The taxation working papers include a detailed review of a number of offshore bank accounts in Mr. Oke's name, which identified the transactions on the property financing. In addition, the audit committee requests that the audit engagement partner attends a meeting with the company's bank officials, which is planned to be held the week after the auditor's report is issued. The purpose of the meeting is for the company to renegotiate its existing lending facility and to extend its loan. The meeting will be attended by the Chief Finance Officer, a representative of the audit committee, as well as the bank manager. The company is hoping that the audit partner will be able to confirm the company's strong financial position at the meeting, and also confirm that the audit included procedures on going concern, specifically the audit of the company's cash flow forecast for the next 2 years, which the bank has requested as part of their lending decision. All right, we're required to A, discuss the policies and procedures which Obuns & Co. should have in place in relation to an anti-money laundering program, 5 marks. B, evaluate whether there are any indicators of money laundering activities by either Akudre PLC or its staff, 4 marks. C, describe the requirements of ISA 250, consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements, 5 marks. D, discuss the action required when an auditor identifies or suspects material instances of non-compliance by a client with the requirements of ISA 250, 5 marks. Finally, using the information provided in the financing section, identify and evaluate any ethical threats and other professional issues which arise from the requests made by the audit committee, 3 marks. Wow, what a long read. Okay, so now we have a question before us that speaks to Obunsa & Co, who are the auditors of Akudre PLC. So it's a listed textile company with 750 sales staff. Wow. 75% of sales are cash-based with staff, including senior management, making commission-based cash sales to friends, family, and the CEO leading the way, selling 4 million worth of products to associates, and also transferring funds directly into a company's offshore account, and is also a sole signatory. Obunsa & Co provides tax computation services for Akudre PLC and OK, which is the MD personally. Another issue, Mr. OK, from what we've read, personal tax returns show significant international property transaction through offshore accounts. And also, finally, the audit committee requests the audit partner to attend a meeting with the bank or the company's bank to confirm strong financial position and going concern procedures for loan renegotiation. Okay. So generally, the part A, you have observed the questions, part 1 or the part A. If you look at the part A question, it's speaking to a direct call or a direct recall question on the components of an audit firm's anti-money laundering program. Yeah, so it's like the previous question we just looked at. So it's direct, and you see that the solution provides a good comprehensive list of that. So focusing on the structural and procedural elements of an audit firm's anti-money laundering program, speaking to appointment of an MLRO, and also training we just spoke about, customer due diligence, know your client, record keeping, internal reporting, documentation, and all that. So the solution just provides a good comprehensive list. And for the B part, I think it's an application-based question. You see that we are required to link specific facts from the scenario to indicators of money laundering. So the solution effectively identifies and lists relevant red flags, actually. The C part, another direct recall. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Please, this second part, talking about appointing a money laundering reporting officer, who is meant to do it? Is it the audit firm or the client?
No, it's the audit firm. The audit firm normally is supposed to have an MLRO. Not the client, yes.
For every audit engagement, there should be an MLRO.
Exactly, especially for audit firms. Most audit firms need an MLRO. If you follow the lectures, audit firms, solicitors, baristas and solicitors, because they deal with clients especially, they are supposed to appoint an MLRO, whether among the chartered accountants or as lawyers. An MLRO needs to wear that hat and assume that office to be able to identify anti-money laundering issues.
Okay, and then report to appropriate authorities like EFCC, right?
Well, he reports to the partner directly, the managing partner. Then the partner is the one that is supposed to escalate to regulatory authorities.
Okay, is he meant to discuss it with those charged with governance first, or just directly to the legal authority?
No, he's not supposed to report to the legal authority except where his partner or his leaders. Now you're speaking to the audit firm, so he reports to either the partner or the managing partner. So where maybe they don't take responsibility of they've not done anything about what he's reporting, he can now move to EFCC or the regulatory authority. But the first line of reporting is to those he reports to in the audit firm. So the engagement partner or the supervisory partner, whoever is in charge of the engagement that he's flagging a transaction or transactions that are involving anti-money laundering, he should report to them first.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Appreciate the engagement. So
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, please.
Just to add to what she's saying.
Yes, please do.
You know,
very necessary.
The audit, that's the managing partner. When anything like that comes up, the managing partner does not have responsibility to the client at all. It's just to discuss it with like the likes of EFCC and the likes, right?
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. In fact, if you discuss it with the client, you are like tipping off. That's like a tipping off. So if you're sure, and even if it's a suspicion, report it. So a suspicion, you don't declare it to the client. If you're suspecting anti-money laundering, you report it to the authorities. So when they carry out their investigation and find out it's baseless, they just ignore it. But if it's substantiated with evidence, proofs, then they pick up the client. So like you said, they don't have any responsibility to the client. Once it's anti-money laundering, report it. Because if you don't report it and the regulators, EFCC finds out, that managing partner is in trouble to the point of jail. It's that bad. So that's, I hope you're clear on that.
Okay, so can we now say,
very cool.
All right.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please. You can go ahead.
Can we now say every audit engagement? Because I know that some in an audit firm, the people that goes for the audit of this firm may be totally different from people that will go. Let me just use First Bank and Zenith Bank, right? It may be different teams, but from the same auditing firm, right?
Yes,
Are we not saying that for every audit engagement, we should have a reporting officer?
It's not we should have. That's what the law stipulates. For every audit firm, there's a money laundering reporting officer. So every audit firm that comes through working papers.
Firm. You are saying audit firm. I'm asking,
it's the firm.
Is it every audit engagement?
No. Not every engagement, just the firm.
Now, in a case where I'm trying to picture a scenario, a realistic scenario, right? Because I've worked in an audit firm, and the audit team that will be auditing this particular company may be different from the audit team that will be auditing another company, right? And in a situation where we have in a firm, in an audit firm, we have just one money laundering reporting officer. I will not say that those audit teams that visit these agencies are to report to the money laundering reporting officer, who will now report to the partners.
Fantastic. So that question is resonating with mid-size and also large firms like the Big Four. So I'll give you what the Big Four does. We'll discuss this and I'll give you what the Big Four does. So there is a central submission of your audit working papers. So most of the Big Four has financial reporting, business and business development, IFRS 9, tax. So all those units, once you are back from the field with your audit working papers, you submit it centrally for scrutiny to the firm. So necessarily the MLRO does not need to go with you people to those engagements. Once you come back with all your working papers, it is centrally submitted and it's mostly digital. So he goes through all the file, and most MLROs in Big Fours have staff under them. So there's a central person, then he has staff depending on the size of that audit firm. So maybe medium size you've worked or a small size. That staff strength is determined by the number of transactions that go on. Of course, you won't expect the MLRO office of PwC, for example, to be one person. The person will die. So it'll be like 5 persons, 10 persons handling that volume of transactions. So what they do is they centrally bring all their transactions and submit it for scrutiny, because they can't go out and be identifying, okay, First Bank, which ones are anti-money laundering transaction, which ones are this. So when they bring their document, they work on it from the office. So the MLRO is always an office person. It doesn't go to the field in answering your question. So that's how it works. I know of that PwC one because I've spoken to the external auditor that was working in my former company. So that's how it happens in. And if anybody has any experience around MLRO, please share your thoughts and let's learn from that. I only know that of PwC. I don't know of maybe the medium size or the small audit firms. Yeah, so I hope you're able to catch some thoughts. And if you're not clear, please state it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And if anybody has any experience, okay, yeah, AA, please go ahead. Your hands are up. Okay.
Not really an experience of MLRO. Actually, I'm just trying to look at, is it, for instance, if an audit firm suspects or discovers a money laundering issue, is it justifiable for them to stop that audit or just disengage or finalize the audit and now disengage with the client?
No, they can't too. Once you find out an anti-money laundering, the law states you report it. So it's the reporting that investigation has to go on, and the investigation can make them pick the client, and or if after investigation he's not culpable. So the general issue is the client is not aware of this. You are reporting and let the law do their job. Once they've done their job, they can pick the client. You are just doing your own part of your duty to report to the law. So the client is not aware. They do their investigation and they found out it's not anti-money laundering. You continue your engagement. But once he's indicted of anti-money laundering, they will pick him, and automatically, of course, the transaction or the audit has already halted. It has stopped. But then audit firms will always get their money back for the job they've done, for their fees and all that from the authorities. Yeah. I hope that's clear.
Yes, sir.
Hello, AA. Are you okay with that? Okay. Fantastic. All right. Nice engagement. I appreciate it. It's nice. And we are getting one or two things on how to write. Okay, so it's a practical question. And if you see the C part, it's also another direct recall. Like I said, the B part is application based. If you see what he said or what the question asks. So know the application based and know the one that you just recall. So the B part is application based. Evaluate whether there are any indicators of money laundering activities by either. So that one is application based. But the C part is a recall. So focus on the auditor's proactive responsibilities under ISA 250. So we'll look at the solution. Then the D part is also a direct recall, which speaks to the auditor's response to identified non-compliance. And the last part is also application-based, specifically testing our the general ethical threats, speaking to IESBA code in a given scenario. So we'll look at that one by one. So the part A, let's look at the solution. The part A now. The part A to that question. We need to, in writing, focus on the structural, like I said earlier, and also the other question we look at of May 2018. You need to write and focus on the procedural elements of an audit firm's anti-money laundering program. So in writing, for example, the MLRO will discussing training, CDD, KYC, record keeping, internal reporting, documentation. So those areas should be well written. And how to write, don't forget to use bullet points or a numbered list for each point. State the policy procedure and briefly discuss its purpose or how it functions in preventing or detecting money laundering. So that's for the A part. You can see how it was structured. So just go through the solution and also look at the marking key. Please take note as you are reading, especially the Pathfinder in your practice. Please take note of the marking key. It's a 5-mark question, that A part. So the direct recall of anti-money laundering program components is necessary. Each is distinct and correctly explained, pointing or points each or points you to any mark. So the solution provides 6 excellent points. So aim to reproduce at least 5 to earn 5 marks. So you will see that the solution speaks to systems and controls. Systems and controls. Let's go to the so 1 mark for each point. Yes. So the solution speaks to systems and controls. That's the general framework to prevent money laundering. The MLRO appointment, key person for internal reporting and external liaison. Record keeping of transactions to maintain audit trail and evidence. Also record keeping, speaking to client identity, know your customer or KYC through official documents. 5, internal reporting procedures, clear path. Internal reporting procedures provide a clear path for staff to report suspicion to the MLRO. Then 6, which is not necessary. Once you give 5, you're okay. 6 speaks to staff training, which is essential for awareness, detection, and also reporting. Very, very key. So that A part should be well explained in that format to be able to earn those marks very, very seamlessly. Okay, so let's look at the B part. The B part. The B part was asking on evaluate whether there are indicators. Okay, so this one is application based. Evaluate whether there are any indicators of money laundering activities by either Akudure PLC or its staff. Okay, so from the solution, you see that it's linked. It's linked to the case. It's not a direct recall, so it's application based, and we need to provide context, especially to what the question speaks to. So in writing this kind of question or this B part answer, we need to systematically go through the scenario facts. You've read through it, but the B part, you may need to go through it and identify specific behaviors or situations that raise suspicion of money laundering. So for example, large cash sales is a suspicion of offshore accounts. Being a sole signatory, those are indicators in the case. Unusual personal transactions. So in writing, how to write, please use bullet points. Each point should clearly state an indicator from the scenario. Then please importantly and briefly explain why it's an indicator of money laundering. So link directly or link your explanation to link it directly to the scenario details so that you can easily pick your marks. Very important. And the marking key gives us how many marks for that, because the marking key is very important. Okay, 4 marks, 1 mark for each 4 points. Okay, so that marking key gives us a key insight in application of the money laundering indicators to the scenario. So each specific indicator from the scenario linked to the potential activity earns a mark. So you see the solution provides or identifies 5 strong indicators. So select 4 and explain why they are suspicious. So 4 to end that 4 marks. but the solution the Pathfinder gave or the examiner gave is 5. So number 1 is high volume cash sales plus staff commission scheme. That is inherently a high money laundering risk. It's difficult to control and offers a plausible front for illicit funding or illicit funds. So it's a high risk area. That high volume cash sales and staff commission scheme, inherently high risk. So take note of that to guide you. Then Mr. Ok's personal international property transaction. This large frequent cross-border property dealings in personal tax returns raises suspicion of wealth unexplained. Of course, you can't explain it by apparent income or legitimate business. So that's a red flag. Then these offshore bank accounts, Mr. Ok's name linked to property transaction. All these offshore accounts often used for concealment and layering, which is what most of these politicians do in money laundering. So you need to flag that in writing. And the CEO encouraging friends, family, and cash sales of that 4 million to associate. He creates a channel for injecting illicit cash directly into the company's revenue stream. And it blurs lines between legitimate and illegitimate funds. Then the fifth one, the 4 million transferred to the company offshore account and is a sole signatory. Funds going directly into a company account, but controlled by a sole signatory. No. That individual offshore is highly suspicious for control and transparency reasons. So you need to flag that. Very important. So take note of this in answering such a question. Though a formal question, but then your brief explanation after stating them, I think should suffice so you don't waste time and overflog or over answer that question. Okay, so let's run to the third part. Describe the requirements of ISA 250, which is consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statement. Okay, so this is a direct recall. I don't think we are required to refer back to the case. So it's a direct recall, just that the case was a base for answering that. All right, so if you look at this third part of the question, you will see that in writing, we need to list the main requirements of ISA 250. We've looked at it in the lectures regarding the auditor's proactive role in considering laws and regulations. So, for example, understanding the company's framework, compliance framework, obtaining evidence, inquiries, inspecting correspondence, remaining alert, written representation, documentation. So that's what to write and list the main requirements. The solution. Yes, please. Yes, please interject really. Somebody trying to ask a question or say something? Okay, please, if you're not speaking, can you mute so that we don't get distracted? Please mute if you're not speaking. Thank you. Okay, so I was speaking to the A part of the question, and I was saying that you need to list the main requirements of ISA 250. And if you look at the solution, you will see that there's a listing and a brief explanation. So regarding the proactive role of the auditor in considering laws and regulations. So I spoke to understanding the framework, obtaining evidence, inquiries, remaining alert, inspecting correspondence, and also written representations and also documentation. So briefly explain each requirement to clarify its meaning. Briefly, no waste of time. It's a 5-mark question. And looking at the marking key is a direct recall, like I said, of the auditor's responsibility under ISA 250. So the solution lists or gave us about 7 requirements as well as explain points to secure full marks. So This is a repeat of a previous question, so the points are actually consistent. Yeah, so I think he has repeated this, he's repeating this question in a previous diet. The general understanding we spoke about. Yes, please.
But this question C and D look similar. Are they the same?
No, they are not the same. This one says describe the requirements, and this one says discuss the action. So they are not the same. So the
solutions
okay, from the solution.
Anyway, there's slight difference. Okay.
Yes, there's slight difference, because even from, I've not seen the solution, but then this one says describe, and this one is a direct recall. It's not linked to the scenario. Why this D part is linked to the scenario? Because identifies. So appreciate the engagement too. Okay. So I was saying that the general understanding speaks to the legal regulatory framework the auditor needs to understand and their compliance standing as a firm or as a business. Then also sufficient appropriate evidence for laws with a direct effect on financial statements. So sufficient appropriate evidence needs to be obtained, very important. And the area of inquiries of management about compliance is very necessary. And also you need to inspect correspondence with regulatory authorities. And remaining alert speaks to potential non-compliance for other audit procedures that comes to your attention during the engagement. And 6 is the written representation, which must be obtained from management about any disclosed non-compliance. And finally, documentation, which is necessary of identified and suspected non-compliance during the engagement. So that's generally an insight you could use to write, to pick the 5 marks for that question or that part C. And the solution provides a very good framework for us to follow in reading and practicing to answer such a question. Okay, so the D part says discuss the actions required when an auditor identifies or suspects material instances of non-compliance by a client with the requirements of ISA 250, another 5 marks. Okay, so that's the D aspect. All right. So the D aspect, you need to outline the steps an auditor must take after non-compliance or suspected non-compliance is identified. So for example, you need to understand the act of non-compliance, then its impact. So an act of non-complying to 500 naira remittance is different from 5 million naira remittance. Their impacts are not the same. One is ignorable, one is not ignorable. And discuss it with management, legal advice. So we have this 500 naira staff levy. If you don't comply, that one, how will it affect the financial statement? But 5 million naira tax returns is significant, is material. So you need to discuss with management or get legal advice for the material ones, audit report implication, and also reporting. What to write. If you look at the solution, it's speaking to that very graphically. And how to write, state each action and provide a brief explanation of its rationale. You need to state the action, then provide a brief explanation. Don't forget it said discuss. Discuss. So take note. Discuss. So for that D part question, if you look at the marking keys, also 5 marks. It's a direct recall question, but it linked it to the case if an auditor's action upon identifying non-compliance. So be guided by the 6 valid actions provided in the solution. It gave us 6 valid actions. So be guided by that and obtaining understanding of nature and circumstances, which is to assert the act's gravity. Is very important. Then evaluation of the effect on financial statements. Quantify financial impact in terms of fines, penalties, restatement, and also qualitative impact, speaking to going concern and the reputation damage. To discuss with management and seek legal advice if suspected to get their perspective and understand the legal ramifications. And also consider the impact on audit report. If management doesn't address it, or if there is sufficient or insufficient evidence speaking to scope limitation, consider the impact. Also consider impact on other areas, audit areas, especially risk assessment, for example, the integrity of management. Consider those areas. And consider reporting first to those charged with governance, which is management, and to shareholders and potential external authorities. If those charged with governance or shareholders didn't do anything, need to override confidentiality if required by law, especially for money laundering cases. So following this order, well explained, should help you write something tenable to earn that 5 marks. Very important. Okay, so finally, using the information provided in the financing section. So this is a direct application. Identify and evaluate any ethical threats and other professional issues which arise from the request made by the audit committee. Well, a small or low 3 marks. Okay, so for this 3 mark question, we'll need to identify the primary ethical threat, which is advocacy threat, and explain it why it arises in the context. So why advocacy threat? So they are trying to bring in the auditor to advocate for them. Discuss the potential consequences of other professional issues, for example, liability, perceived guarantee. So how to write now? You need to state by explicitly naming the ethical threat. So this is not a case of self-review or self-interest or intimidation. It's clearly an advocacy threat. So in bullet points or short paragraphs, explain how the auditor or the audit committee requests, or its request, the audit committee's request creates this threat and what the implications are for the audit firm's objectivity, independence, and professional liability. Why will you request the audit firm to join you in a meeting to the bank? So it's an advocacy threat the audit committee is creating for the audit firm. So in writing or looking at the insight, you need to identify the specific threat, like I said, or any related professional issue from the scenario. So the solution is clear. 3 well-explained points will suffice. So advocacy threat, explicitly name it. Explain that attending the meeting to confirm the company's strong financial position places the auditor in a position of advocating for the client. And what's the risk? Is compromising objectivity. And another area is the legal implication, liability. If the partner confirms financial strength, the firm can be exposed to legal claims from the bank if the company defaults or the company goes down, as it could be perceived as guaranteeing the loan. Exactly. And you could use the same point, legal implication, liability, you've explained as a header, then you could use perceived guarantee. The bank might view the audit firm's presence and confirm as a form of assurance. So, it's dangerous, it's dicey, or a guarantee on the loan. And another point, like in the solution, is impairment of independence and objectivity, which is critical. The public or users of the financials might perceive the auditor as too closely aligned with management's interest, yes, in securing financing. So the action is discuss these issues with the audit committee and explain why the firm cannot attend, so that you can maintain professional skepticism and independence. This is very important. So before we go on our short break, please take note of these 5 good questions. They are highly re-examinable. And you see that for B and C, there is a scenario linkage, so crucial for application-based questions. So always refer back to the specific details when a question like this comes, provided in the case study. And your standard knowledge, like for A, C, and D, for directly call questions on standards, speaking to anti-money laundering program, ISA 250, precise and comprehensive knowledge is vital. And the command words, take note, pay attention to discuss, evaluate, describe. Please take note of them. Discuss requires it requires more elaboration and sometimes a balanced view. Evaluate requires judgment and links facts to implications, conclusions. Then describe requires you to outline the main features or requirements. So please structure your answer. Use clear headings for each part. So A, B, C, D, and bullet points for each of the sections, because this significantly improves readability and ensures the examiner can easily follow your points and award marks. So this is where most examiners, I've noticed some mark, they don't have patience. So impressing them with your clear structure and this readability helps them, you get their attention. When some of the times when they mark and auditors are reprimanding them, how can somebody score 11, 12 and all that? They tell you the person is, they also respond. I believe auditors audit what they write, they mark. They respond that the person writes rubbish or the person didn't follow the structure. So please take note of this. Make your script readable, since we are still going to be using paper-based from what I saw in November. Please make it readable and ensure the examiner can follow your points seamlessly. Please practice it. And for time allocation, don't forget, distribute your time based on the marks. So like this question is 22 marks in total. So 22 times 1.8 minutes. So this let's say 36 minutes or 39 minutes should help you work on this. Yes, please, Toluwani, go ahead. Interject freely. You're muted if you're speaking. Your hand is up. You're muted. We're not able to hear you. Is somebody else hearing him? I can't hear him. And somebody here, Toluwani?
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't
hear you. Maybe you put, okay, you can, are you speaking now, Toluwani? Okay, maybe you put your thoughts in the chat box. Put it in the chat box so that we can't hear you. All right. So I was speaking to the marking, the marks. I was saying that, please, for 22 marks, you need to approximately 22 times 1.8 marks. You'll be able to get the timing. So please time yourself as you are practicing this question and as you are writing in your private to be able to align properly. Okay, so we are already 5 minutes of our break time. Let's take a break.